Hello and welcome to the Hedonistic Way at Midday Show. I am Renee Main and I really felt called to just come in and spend some time with you guys and spend some time reflecting on the amazing guests that we've had in the past few weeks and also just sharing what's alive in me. I labeled today's show No Mud, No Lotus because one of the women going through the internship was talking, and it was a quote that by a Vietnamese monk that really resonates with me because it really encapsulates everything that I believe in life, our sole purpose, us being of service, but also our dance with our spirituality, how we show up to life and how we feel and how we perceive everything going on around us. I can hear my earrings dancing around these headphones. So if they're annoying, just let me know. So today's video and the title was really inspired by just that quote, because it is so simple but yet so effective for me. It's a real anchor for me, because something that, for those of you who have been hanging around for a while will know, and other people who are new to the Hedonistic Queen page and the Hedonistic Way podcast or show, is something that I'm really passionate about and determined to do, is to revolutionize how we feel and how we see the world, how we see ourselves and our Eros and our magic. And when I say magic, when we think about magic, we think of it as, magic in its kind of essence, in the showman performative way, is really about creating an illusion, or it's based on trickery, right? Or, eluding the eye, so to speak. So when I talk about magic with a K, it's really about, the K represents you. The K represents what you bring, and it's not based on trickery or an illusion, but absolute authenticity. That's a pure expression that's coming from your soul. And that is really what we want to tap into. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's what I'm craving and what I see in others, what I crave to see in others. What do I hunger for? So I think that's a really beautiful question that we get to ponder, is what am I hungering for right now? And what am I craving? Or when you see someone else or showing up online or whatever it is, it's what are you hungering for them? What do you want to see more of from them? And use that as a bit of a dance to melt into what you're craving for yourself. In my experience, we have this edge in which we put ourselves out there, and then we get to that edge and we go, ugh, and we stop ourselves, because it's that, whether it's feeling safe in pushing the edge and going that extra thing, like, because then it sparks off, right? The spin-off story to that play is, am I too much? What will people think? I can put myself out there to this degree, but anything beyond that is out of my control. So we limit ourselves, and it's this caged in, this boxed in view in which we see the world. And what I want to do is to just smash all those boxes, smash all those limits, and let them dissolve, because that space beyond the edge is where your magic is where all that beautiful creation and that vulnerability, it all lies beneath that edge. So that's what I want that's what I want us to think about is, think about, where am I at with the edge? How much am I pushing myself, against this edge? Or am I playing safe in my comfort zone and in my safety zone? Because really, we want to be able to melt into it. And the more we melt into the moment, if you just imagine yourself melting, right, then what happens when anything melts is it spreads out really deliciously throughout all the edges. It's not even a thing. So that's why, I will say all the time to melt into what is, melt into the moment, right? Because what I want to do is I want to teach you how to suck the marrow out of life, how to melt into it like it's the most delicious piece of chocolate that you've ever had. Or what is it for you? If it's not chocolate, it's not even really chocolate for me, actually. But what is it for you? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what it is for you. But what is that delicious thing that when you bite into it, it's like, and it ignites that, like, yes. Like, what is that? Because that is what we want to tap into. Because once you do this, and that's something that Sarah discussed in last week's show, is Sarah spoke about when she started this journey into the Intuitive Dominatrix internship. And if you don't know what that is, or you haven't heard of it before, then feel free to message me and reach out, because it is really the most spectacular journey and experience. And something that Sarah said is she stopped seeking. She stopped seeking. And that is huge, because what if you just asked yourself for a moment, what does my life look like when I am deliciously full, when I am absolutely fulfilled with every ounce and inch of my soul? I am fulfilled. What does that look like? Like, that's pretty friggin' delicious, right? So that is what we're pondering, because here's the thing, is that when we reclaim our Eros, and when I say Eros, it's really the work of the Intuitive Dominatrix that I'm referring to, is it's that reclaiming of our Eros, that innate internal, hedonistic, holy human selves that we are. When we do that, we become a dominatrix of your life and a submissive to the universe. And that is the most sustainable and decadent way, the most courageous way that we can show up to life, because anyone who has this remembrance will inhabit heaven no matter where they are, no matter where they're standing, what's going on around them. And I'm really the fusion between the mystic and the femdom, and I make kink my bitch. And why do I do that? Because here's the thing, is what I refer to it as is somatic kink. So it's in the body, because inside the work that I do is there's a current, right, that's happening in all of our lives. Like, no one is exempt from this. So there's a current or a thread that's running throughout our lives that refers back to, it's let me try and put that into another way, is it's this concurrent thread or this parallel life. So what's rolling out in our sex, in our sexuality, is rolling out in our lives, in our business, and how we're showing up to the world. So but it's bigger than that, right? Because it's actually in the body. It's in the body. So it's the cellular memory that our body has. So it's not just a matter of saying, when I want to say probably 5 years ago, when I really started, speaking about the hedonistic way, it was about, okay, what's the reality of your sex life and what's the fantasy? And there will always be a parallel between your sex life, and let's say, and I'll refer to business or your service because that's a lot of the people that I serve own their own business, and that, or they're entering into that space. So there's a real cross pollination between how you show up in the bedroom is how you're showing up to your business, and that can be a really confronting answer to ponder, right? Because it's like having this raw, honest, open communication with yourself, and that can be pretty daunting and pretty scary. But now, and yes, we still work with that, but now the work that I'm really doing is really digging deeper, because I'm seeing that over the past 5 years was what happened is because we know this, okay, but it's a matter of rewiring the somatic kink that's actually in your body. So what we want to do is we want to identify where that kink is, where that hidden kink is in your body. Because once we do that, we get to actually transmute it and transcend it at a cellular level, which is frigging cool, right? It is amazing. It's big work, but it's amazing work because it really is the transcendence of all that is, right? Because if you think of your body, right, your body or our bodies is like a big library of information that stores memories beyond what, just like our, just like we use 10% of our brains, right? And our subconscious is 90%. So the same as in our bodies is our body remembers. And so between our subconscious mind and our body, this is creating our reality, right? So this is why if we're just talking about something, we can't talk ourselves into existence. We can't try to, let's say, bullshit the universe into thinking that we want our reality to look a certain way. So yes, if I think it, I can become it, but it's much, much deeper than that. And that is really the work that we're doing here, is because, a lot of people, I think a lot of us, and I want to honor that there's a particular road and a particular unraveling that we all need to experience in this, let's call it an awakening, right? And so every link is a vital link in the chain. But if you're at a point where you realize that you're constantly seeking, you're constantly trying to change your vibration, your frequency, you're constantly trying to change who you are, right? This is not sustainable. And this is why I love the work of the intuitive dominatrix and the hedonistic way and somatic kink so much, is because we honor what's present. And if we're trying to change or alter or shift anything, we're missing the point. And that is something that I feel really, really passionate about. And I'm determined to show you how we can transcend that feeling, because it leaves us constantly feeling incomplete. And that's when we go, when I get this thing or this person or this someone or something, I'm going to feel fulfilled. I'm going to feel complete, and I'm going to feel happy, right? But here's the thing. I can bet my bottom dollar that you have lived enough and had enough life experience to know that that is complete bollocks, because you can get the thing or get the someone and you still don't feel fulfilled or content. Right? So this is what we're working with here. And this is why I love the quote, no mud, no lotus, is because we have to do the work. We have to get busy. If we want to bloom, if we want to blossom, we need to get really friggin' comfortable being in the mud, being in the soil, because that is where the nutrients are. That is where the juice is. That is where we're fed and brought to life, right? There is no lotus without the roots, without the soil, because we're all things, right? And so if you've been on the personal development or spirituality junket for a while, is we're really taught that we need to increase our vibration, right? And there's a scale of consciousness that tells us how to do that, right? Scientists have measured the frequency of which every feeling state is. So we're trying to outsmart our feelings into something that makes us feel more pleasant. Can you feel how that is a little bit crazy? Because we're then creating this hierarchy of emotion, and we're willing ourselves into experiencing something, right? But here's the thing. And this, this train of thought is, it's very cutting edge. And I think, if I'm activating those feelings of like, what the hell are you talking about? What does this mean for me? Because I've been on this journey for a while. Just sit with it. And it's a beautiful place to be, because right there is another awakening. It's another layer that's willing to be brought into flourish. Yeah. So did that make sense? You know what I mean? So what I want to invite you to think about is what we're doing in terms of the scale of consciousness, in terms of raising our frequency. And, yes, cultivating a state of whatever it is powerful, big, important work, right? But it does not override what you're feeling, thinking, and experiencing in all moments, because however you are in this moment is absolutely perfect. And constantly trying to change something is not transcending, is not transmuting, is not transforming anything. In fact, it's more of a hindrance, because you are in resistance, because you're not trusting what is. And that's important to understand, right? So what I want to talk about is, let's talk about like these lower frequencies, these lower vibrational states that we deem as bad because they feel a bit icky and we dislike them. So we're actually determining what is good and what is bad. And, so I'm pretty sure the universe delivers us what we need, right? And everything happens for a reason. And, surrendering into trust, into deep, deep trust, and having absolute humility for everything that it is, and bringing it in and welcoming it in and hearing it, having a conversation with this part of ourselves, is some of the most courageous acts and gifts that we can actually honor ourselves with, right? So when we bring in this, let's say, I'm trying to think of some of the emotions or feeling states that are down the bottom. So let's talk about, desire is down there, hate, anger, fear. What else is down there? They're probably the most common ones that are lower vibrations. Now, if you think about it, anger is a powerful vehicle. It is a powerful energy. So is desire. But where is it coming from? And that is the question that we need to ask ourselves. And so when we bring in that go, okay, like, where is this anger? And you melt into that anger and you find pleasure in the anger. You find pleasure in the desire. You feel pleasure in the pain. Guess what happens? You are transcending the scale of consciousness. You are blowing up the scale of consciousness because we're honoring what is alive. It is not up to us to raise and try and outsmart the scale of consciousness. It is up to us to sit with ourselves and be honest with what's being brought to us in that moment. Right? So instead of shaming it, instead of feeling guilty for it, instead of judging it, because you go, oh, I just had this bad thought, so let me just rewind and sorry, universe, I didn't mean to say that, and I meant to say da 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 da. Right? Like, come on, really. I'm pretty sure friggin' God has got a gazillion other things to do. So so I think we need to get really realistic and really honest with what we're presented with. And this is why I friggin' love somatic kink so much, is because I guarantee you whatever is coming up in your reality, there is a part of you that wants it. You are getting off on something. There's a secondary gain that's happening there. And I'm not talking about if you are in a dangerous situation, if you are getting sexually abused, mentally abused, physically abused. I'm not saying that you should stay there and trust. I'm saying that you need to leave, and that's not okay. But what I am saying is that there are parts of ourselves, that hidden library is, we're all kinky, right? We all have these hidden kinks. Everyone, I say all the time, everyone is 50 shades of fucked up. Everyone has these parts of ourselves that we hide, we try to change because we think that they're bad, evil, or wrong. But we all have them. And yes, they might be different and they might have different faces and different flavors, but we all have them. And so what we want to do is we want to sit with that and go, okay, like, what am I getting out of this situation? What am I getting? Like, what is the gain that I'm getting? So I want to, for example, I will have, a lot of my clients will have, they've been hiding, right? And so, there's a fear around stepping out into who they really are and owning that and doing that, in a very public way. And they desire to, they want to be of service. They genuinely, like, every inch of their soul wants to do something incredible, right? They want to suck the marrow out of life. They don't just want to exist. They want to suck the marrow out of life. So, but in that, there's this hidden kink where they still hide, where they're afraid to be seen, right? And what it's my job to do is to guide them through working out what that kink is. What are they gaining from that, right? And there is always something there. And so there are multiple kinks at multiple levels in our bodies that we work with, right? And and we're constantly evolving, so this work is never done. But what happens is, when we stop judging life, when we bring it all in and we melt into it, then we can feel amazing, because we're bringing pleasure into all of it, even the yucky parts, because at the heart of all of it, we have deep trust. And this could be something, like, so, over the weekend, I was feeling really, like, just ranty and, like, ragey. I could feel it under my skin, and I could feel, like, my blood just, like, ew. And for no one reason, but a gazillion little ones. And what I did was I didn't shame it. I didn't even try to change it or shift it. I just allowed myself to be with it and to feel it and to say, okay, like, I'm just going to be with you. Like, I'm just going to listen to you. I am just going to hear you, and I'm going to honor you in this moment. And in that, there's no panic, because if you notice that whenever we feel an uncomfortable emotion, there's also a level of panic that we feel like, oh my God, I'm feeling this way and I feel really bad. And what can I do to shift it? What can I do to change it? And ooh, I'm doing something wrong. I don't want to feel this thing. Like, get off, get off, get off. Right? So that's what we're feeling. And there's another way. And so in that, we're building up this energy around it that feels really mech and really yucky. But if it's just presented, we can just go, bring it in and go, I see you. I hear you. I love you. It changes everything. And that's when we really get to melt into it, right? And we can feel pleasure in that. We can feel aroused in that, right? We're no longer afraid of pain because we can feel pleasure in the pain, right? And and that can be, that was over nothing, but it can be really big moments in your life where you can still apply this too. So, I want to say that, full disclosure here is it's not just about these frivolous things. This way of life is not about frivolous things that don't really matter. This applies to every single area and life's most challenging moments. Okay? And that is what I want to make really, really clear, is because this really does, when you trust this work, when you lean into this work, when you melt into this work, there really is a beautiful level of, yes, we still feel things. We're human and life happens. Life is not going to stop happening. It's not a message that, it's not a sign that we've done something wrong. It's a sign that we're doing it right. Right? So this level of trust, when my mum was sick, I was going to say not quite 3, about 2.5 years ago, there was a level of like, oh my goodness, and this, I could feel the pain and I could feel myself like going to resistance and fear. And there was that feeling of like I was closed and I was like, I wanted to control the situation. I'm like, right, okay, what does this mean for me? What is this? Da da da. And tried to control everything around it. But then as soon as I went, because, there was a fear of, what does this look like for me? Like, because this could potentially, at the time, this could change my life. Like, it's, she would require 24/7 care, multiple appointments, and so my life would change as I knew it, and she would have to live with me. And so it was huge, and we didn't know for how long. Like, it was actually till for the rest of her life, and we didn't know how long that was at the time. And so there was a moment that happened where I just said, you know what, like, because there was a whole bunch of things happening. The doctors were saying one thing, but I could feel intuitively that it was very different and it was going to go down a completely different track. And so there was a moment where I just said, I just need to surrender, and I need to just be the conduit and vessel to love. All I'm going to do is I'm going to just love in this moment and trust that no matter what it is, I can handle it, I can do it. And so from that moment, there was a real shift in me and in mum and how I showed up to it. I surrendered, to all of it, and I trusted God in that moment. And so all of a sudden, there was this, it was hard and it was painful and it was, one of the most excruciating times of my life, but it was also beautiful, and so that is melting into the moment. That is the importance of this work. That is why I do what I do, because I believe in this work, because this work will revolutionize how we show up in the world. It is the most sustainable way, rather than trying to outsmart and work against, life and how we feel and our identity and who we are and all of these things. How about we just work with what we've got? How about we just meet ourselves as love? How about we see ourselves through the eyes of the universe, how the universe sees us? I think that is a beautiful invitation. And what does it look like when you stop seeking? What does that look like? It's a pretty beautiful moment. It's a miraculous moment, and it's a very important moment. And it really begins with just opening ourselves up and knowing that we need all of life and we can't outsmart it. We're not here to alter it, change it, shift it. We're here to live it. We're here to suck the marrow out of it, right? And so, and that's, we don't need to, exclude anything or anyone. One of the first episode for this season with Damien was, he was talking about inclusion and transcendence. And that is really what this is about, right? Is we don't need to constantly shed and let go and let go and shed and let go and let go and let go. We can include and transcend, right? We can try to pretend that something isn't there, but it's not going to go away. So it's just being honest and practical about that. Is going, okay, like, we can't change that. It is here. So let's just include it and bring it in and use that for transcendence, So I think that was something that I loved about what Damien shared, and then there was Chelsea, and Chelsea was talking about, I can be all of who I am, and I can share that with the world, or I don't have to. If I don't want to, I can choose my moments. And that is something that you go, okay, like, let's put our love on display, knowing that when we sink into that sovereignty, we share what we feel guided to share, right? And so we don't need to show up and, air all of our dirty laundry, so to speak. We just need to speak what is alive in us, right? And, as Carly Marie saying is, she says, like, just pour love over the internet, just pour love over the internet. And that is what I'm talking about, is where love meets love, and Vanessa, and she has the movement around Journey to Worthy. And something that she was talking about in that is knowing that every piece, every choice, every decision, every step brought you to this very, very moment, and it is exactly where you are meant to be. And the past may have shaped who we are right now, but it does not dictate our future. and having that understanding. And, you know, to finish up on what Sarah so beautifully articulated in last week's show, is she stopped seeking. She stopped seeking. It was the end of all pursuits. And what does your life look like when you end all pursuits and you could just melt into life? Feels pretty magical, right? Thank you so much for being here today and sharing this moment with me. It has been my honor and my privilege. If you have any questions, reach out. I want to know your comments. I want to know what's resonated with you. And if you're curious about the internship, reach out and message me, and we can have a conversation. Yeah. All right. Take care, loved ones. Mwah. I love you all, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.